Good afternoon, Year 4. Mr. Dice here. Pleased to see you. I'm speaking to you from home and you'll be listening to me sat at your table at school. This is the new normal, but it's the same old Mr. Dice. I've prepared 4 videos for you. Each of those videos are going to take our drawing one step further. We're going to start off quite small. We're going to move out and we're going to get to a stage where we're doing landscapes at the end of the sessions. Some of it's going to be based around the book that you're reading, which is The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and I'll talk to you about that each week as I go along. The format of this is that I prepare a video which will give you a warm-up and a main activity, and then you will go through that with your teacher in class. And then I will meet up with you via Zoom live in your classrooms each week so that I can see your work, appreciate it with you, and also have an extension so that those of you that need taking on a little bit further will be able to do so. So listen carefully to the video because that's going to be the instruction to what you're going to be doing. Work hard, be creative, and most of all, have fun and enjoy what you're doing. I will see you later when you've finished the main activity. So for the warm-up, you'll need your sketching book. In your sketching book, you'll take the blank page, and then you're going to turn your book around, fold the cover underneath, and make it into portrait rather than landscape. So you've got the longer sides and the shorter sides facing towards you, the longer sides facing out. You're then going to take one sheet of that paper and you're going to fold that piece of paper in half still in your book. So you need to take that carefully up to the corners and just fold a line halfway down, because on the top half we're going to do our warm-up activity, and on the bottom half we're going to have the piece of drawing that we are going to be working on. So you should have quite nicely delineated a line telling you top and bottom. And on the top one, I'm going to use a Sharpie for this because it shows up much better than my pencil does on the video, but you'll use pencil. And on the top, I just want you to do some small squares. And we're trying to get about 7 small squares in. 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do 6 because I can't get it in. If it's 5 or 7, it doesn't really matter. 6 is about the right 6 or 7. So we've now got these 6 squares that you can see. That's better, isn't it, if you can see what I'm doing? You've got 6 squares there. And all we're going to do is we're going to take our pencil and we're going to do lines quite close together so that you basically shade in that box. They're not too close together, but so they're running parallel. They're trying to keep the same distance between each one of them. So that's the first activity you need to do. If your teacher wants to pause the video at that stage, that's fine. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my page around, but you can turn your book around. And I'm not going to do all 6 this time. I'm only going to do 5 of them. So I'm going to come crossways and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but from side to side of the square. And I'm going to do that fairly quickly. But I'm not going to do it in the last one. Each time we do this, we'll leave the last one as it is. So the last one stays as it is. I'm now going to turn the book around again, so I've got it more easy to work with. And now I'm going to do diagonal lines. I'm going to come across the corner. And I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 and 4, but I'm going to leave number 5 blank. So the last one always gets left untouched. So now I'm going to turn it around again, and I'm going to do the diagonal lines starting from the other corner. And all the time when you're doing this, you're seeing that we've got less white showing through. And again, I've got to be careful because I'm only going to do 3 this time. So there we go, and I've left number 4. Now you should be able to excuse me, start seeing the difference. The more shaded ones are going to be darker, the less shaded ones are going to be lighter. And I've got 2 more to do. I'm going to go back on this first one, going downwards. So I'm going to cover over most of those white lines as I go. And now for the last one, because I'm not doing number 3, and this time I'm not doing number 2, I'm just doing number 1, if you know what I mean. Sounds a bit funny. There we go. And I'm going to come acrossways, and now you should see that number 1 is fully darkened and number 6 is quite lighter. So it's shading, it's going from dark to light. And in our work that we're going to do this afternoon, that's how we're going to get shaded in the activity that we're going to be involved in. Again, if you want to pause now and just rethink of that, the main thing is that each time you do it, you leave the last one exactly the same. You don't add to that, otherwise you'll end up with 6 completely darkened ones. So if you want to pause the video now, that would be a good time. Now, the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing circles. And I'm going to start off with circles that are fairly close together. The circles are about the size of your little fingerprint there. So it's a bit like handwriting practice. Now what we're going to do, we're going to make that circle slightly smaller. And I'm trying to make sure that, I'm doing it quite quickly for you, but I'm trying to make sure that it touches and each circle is going to be a similar size. And each time I go down a row or a line, I'm going to make those circles tighter and smaller, so I'm going to fit more in as I go down that line. I'm making it smaller and smaller. I should get them closer and closer actually. I'm doing it quite quickly because I don't want to keep you hanging around too much. And now I'm going to get really small. And hopefully you can see from what I've done that, again, like we've got here, it's going from lighter to darker. Just by using the size of these circles, it's getting from lighter to darker. I could now start taking that out again and making those circles a little larger, and then carry on until you've got it into a shape that goes like so. So you finish up here. I'm just doing it quickly to show you. So it goes from light to dark to light again. Okay, have a go at doing that. Okay, well done. Now this activity was just to show us that by making marks on the paper closer together and going over and over, we're going to go from light to dark or dark to light, light through to dark, back to light again. Now the next activity that I want to be working on, I'm just going to push that down, but on your piece of paper you'll have that line so you'll still be able to see what you're working on. So I'm going to start in the middle and I'm going to do a small dot. Now in this activity, we're going to start in the middle and we're going to spread out across the whole page. And what we're trying to do is to make that contrast between light and dark and almost take a journey from the middle of the page to the outside of the page. So I'm going to start off with that dot and I'm going to make it slightly bigger as I stretch out. So I've started with a small and I've gone out and it's getting larger and larger. Now I'm going to start again from the middle and I'm going to maybe take it a little further within that space. I think I might do some now that are slightly closer together. Again, I'm using a Sharpie, but you'll be able to use your pencils, and you can, even if you want to do darker lines, you might use a softer pencil, a B pencil. So all I'm doing, I'm just adding, coming out from that central place. And you might take that smaller again. So what we're doing is we're using what we did in the example first of all, or our technical or our warm-up activity, and we're taking that and using it to create. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to fill in now areas with some, it's a bit like when you cut open a pomegranate or the seeds of a tomato or a banana or an eggplant or an aubergine or whatever, and you can see what's happening now. I'm beginning to stretch out. I'm doing it in a fairly random way to start off with, but then if I find something pleasing, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add to that. So that's your next activity. Starting from the middle, start working out so you get towards the end, not right to the end, because we've got something different we're going to do there. I need to concentrate now on filling in this space here. So now I've got this shape. It's just a random shape that I've done, but what I have done, I've tried to make sure that there are no gaps, or not too many gaps, between the circles themselves. So I'm just going in here now and just filling in some stuff I did a little bit more quickly. Now we're going to take some branches. So we're going to branch out to the edge of the page. And when I say branches, I mean like the branches of a tree. So we need a few of them, and those are going to mark out certain areas that we are going to shade. I might put one here. Yeah, thank you, Cat. Now I've taken the drawing on just so that you don't have to sit and watch me do it for too long. But what I've done is I've finished this initial shape that takes up the majority of the page in the middle that we started from the center. I've made it with different size circles, but the rule is that all of the circles must really touch each other so that there are no spaces, and you can always go back and see if you've made a little space or there's a space that you can fill in. The next thing I did, I've made these branches, and these branches just take that now to the outside of the paper, or the space that we've got on that paper. And this is part of the travelling feeling that we've got from the centre going through to the outside. And these are just like branches of a tree. Now I'm going to swap over to my graphite pencil now, because it's slightly easier to show you that. And now what we're going to do, we're going to use the spaces in between where we've made these branches, and we're going to use some of our shading techniques that we've used when we did our first practice. So I'm going one way, and on this one I'm going to come back. This is what's called cross hatching. I'm going to come back this way, so it's slightly darker than just now. Because I've got my pencil, I can use my smudge technique here, and that's going to blend it in. So I'm just going to put some different marks, and this is where you can have some fun and be really creative about how you fill in these blank places. So I'm just going to do very lightly here on this one and rub that in really hard. The harder you rub that pencil, especially if you've got a soft one, the better that's going to be. Now I can put, if I press harder, I can put marks over the top of those marks. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to do this quite quickly so that you can see, but what I would like you to do really is be creative with how you shade these different areas to give it sort of a different feel. And if you wanted to get lighter and lighter as you went out, I'm just going to go across. So you will end up with a range of different shades spreading from darker to lighter. And I'm just going to blend those in. And then just quickly, what you can do is to use your rubber to take off some of those outer, just a little highlight on that outer shading, so that we're going from the dark to the light. Now, as usual, I've had to rush this because I don't want you to be hanging around and waiting for me to finish. But I'll just say again, these spaces, these areas, I'll just show you a little bit more clearly. These spaces, these areas around between the branches are for you to practice in different ways of making it lighter and darker. But it would be nice if we started off with dark and finished with light. So have some fun with that. There's no right or wrong. Lots of people say, can I do this, Mr. Dyes, or can I do that, Mr. Dyes? Yeah, you can do, because it's your drawing, you can do whatever you think is right. Although obviously if you want some advice and you want to know what would be the best way to do it, then I'll be there to help you. So have fun, enjoy what you're doing, and see if we can make some really beautiful images. We're not copying anything or doing anything, it's just a drawing for drawing's sake. So I'll see you live in your classroom next when you finish this activity. Bye.